Yeah, man, so I start looking out the window. I see gun store, liquor store, gun store. Where the fuck are you taking me? Yeah, man, OG shit right here.
Welcome to Everyone Has a Story. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, and this is my 8th season producing and hosting Everyone Has a Story at Can TV, located at 1309 South Wood Street. This is where the TV world started for me. I absolutely love meeting people, interviewing them, and sharing their stories to educate you, my viewers, on such a great platform. Also this season, I will be streaming live the day of my taping, where you will see the behind the scenes, control room, the guests, and the cameraman, etc. So tell a family member, a friend, associate, or organization to tune in. To watch the edited version, go to your computer web browser, type in cantv.org, then click on schedule, and then channel 21 to see what date and time it comes on Can TV. I would also like you to visit my website, marcusjonesstory.com, my Twitter page at I Have a Story, the number 2 TEL. So that's I Have a Story 2 TEL. Of course, my Facebook and my IG. Today, I am glad to have a man who is shaking up and waking up black communities. He has an organization called Rise Up Chicago, which includes a very good mentoring program. He is a strong advocate for black men and women and is doing great work all over the city. Let me show you a tad bit of his work.
There's a need and a necessity in our community for us to control our own community, to create a safe haven, to get that village mentality back in our community.
Look at all that. Look at how these people are feeling this shit. Coming out of these businesses, coming out of their parties, showing black love, black heart, black youth, black pride. That's what it's all about. We got to change the narrative. We got to start speaking Christ in our lives. We got to understand that we ain't shit. We are a vice. We are a vice. We ain't niggas. We king. We queen. Change the narrative. Change the way you think about yourself. Change the way you see your brother and your sister. Then we get back to them in the community. You get involved because you don't look at them like they're piece of shit. You will look at them and say, that's my sister.
When I saw this clip, it made me say, wow, I'm sure not just me, but a lot of black men say, you know what? It's been a long time for a stance for our people to come about. So on that note, I want to welcome Ronnie Man. Welcome.
Peace and love.
How are you today?
Wonderful, sir. Just glad to be alive, in the land of the living. And first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me on your show and giving me an opportunity to share with you and get my story out.
Yes. Like I tell all my guests, I'm glad you showed up. Bro.
That's what's up. That's what's up. It was a pleasure.
And thank you for allowing me this interview. I'm happy to have you on my show.
Mm-hmm.
What I see going on is almost like a movement, if I can say that. But at the same time, we want to educate people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the basis of my show, to educate.
Absolutely.
And again, welcome to Everyone Has a Story. Are you from Chicago?
Yes, sir. Born and raised, Chicago is home. I tell people I was born out west and I was raised up north. Okay. Locally accepted all throughout the city. I've been all over, in all the communities and whatnot. And I just love my people. I love my city, It was a few times, I'm a single parent, so there's a few times raising my children here in this city. It's been times where I wanted to leave or whatever, but I got to a point where I said, I love my city. I love my people. I shouldn't have to leave, so I have to do something to make a difference. So that sparked, that inspired me to want to make things better for my children. And so I want to make things better for my city because I just don't look at it as my children. I look at you as my brother.
Yes.
I look at our women as my sister, as my mother, my grandmother, my elders. The village mentality, you know, I've always had that, and it's something that we as a people need to get back to instead of squaring off with each other. We are professional fighters.
Yes.
We know how to do all of that, but it's time for us to start getting active in the community. These are our communities. You know, we are responsible for them, therefore. So we have to do the things that, if we want to see change, we got to be the change, and we got to get out here and activate the change.
Yes, yes. I know that you talk a lot about manhood a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And what is manhood to you?
Manhood is doing what you say you're going to do. Manhood is being responsible. Manhood is about having integrity. Manhood is about being a provider, being a protector. You know, all of those things are not just cliches, you know. And trust me, I haven't always been this way, you know. But manhood is also something that we should learn on the job, so to speak. We should have a blueprint to that. We should have a father, but seeing that that is not the case for many of us, myself included. My father was murdered when I was 3 months old. So going through life, and I had my mother married a man who, I don't call him my stepfather. He was my old man, you know. It was very good to me, so I don't want to slight him in any regard, but not to have that blueprint, the person who I would say, well, why do I walk like this? Why do I talk like this? To forever have a question, that question mark in your head. And I'm 42 years old now, and I still have that question mark. You know, I don't want to see any young men have that. So that's what fuels me. That's what makes me, I made a lot of mistakes to get to where I'm at now, but I've learned a lot and I've grown a lot, and you know, I'm a sure enough man.
Yes, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. That's great. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll get to find out the reason why he started up the organization Rise Up Chicago. We'll be back in 2 minutes with Everyone Has a Story.
Marcus Jones says he's headed in the right direction today. That's much different than where he was headed 2 decades ago.
It was good because you got the money for the right there. You get the money, and as the customers come, and the money piled up in your pockets.
That was when Jones was just 16 years old. He was already a member of a known gang. By the time he was 24, Jones attempted to rob another gang member.
As I was exiting the home, I got shot, and didn't even know I had got shot, and tried to get back up, and I couldn't.
Jones has been in a wheelchair ever since. He wrote a book titled, Everyone Has a Story, This Is Mine. He hopes that his mistakes can wake up others.
You always think that it could never happen to you until it happens.
Jones educates people in his own uptown neighborhood, but he also works with other schools and students in other communities. And that puts some parents' minds at ease.
I look at Marcus and I think, and I thank God, my son could have been in that wheelchair.
He also encourages everyone to stay away from the drugs he once sold.
He said, Steve, when they say they want to give you a free high, they don't tell you about the low-down consequences of accepting that free high.
Jones's book was published in January. In just 2 short decades, he went from selling drugs to selling books and selling hope.
We're back on Everyone Has a Story. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, and I'm here with Ronnie Man, a good brother who is letting our people know the real deal about how important it is to love our people and to stand united. Ronnie, how did the name come about, Rise Up Chicago?
Well, doing previous work throughout the community, particularly last year, I was very active in the community. Went to each and every black community in Chicago at least 3 times, reaching out to the youngsters, the youth, talking to them. You know, last year, Chicago had the highest murder rate of this millennium, right? And so every week I was out in the community talking to these brothers and things like that. And, you know, I haven't always been a good guy. I used to be in the streets myself. So I understand them, you know, and I understand that that's something that people are in survival mode, to put it bluntly. You know, a lot of these youngsters are in survival mode. Who wants to stand on a corner and get shot at? Who wants to worry about the police, worry about the stick-up man and all these other things? Nobody wants to really do that. They do it because they're in survival mode. So by being out in the community, I seen that there was a need for our people to rise up, to, you know, rise above all the conditions that we're living in. A lot of our problems still stem from economics or lack thereof. You know, there's no economic infrastructure in our communities. You know, if you look at the businesses, most of them are owned by people who don't look like us. And so these are, by me looking and being boots on the ground in the community, it made me say, man, it's time for us to rise up. Not just the older people, the youth, the youngsters. We have got to change the narrative. We've got to change their mindsets, because a lot of them, they have no allegiance to black culture. They have no allegiance to, see, it's hard for you to kill somebody when you grew up eating at their grandmother's table, right? The village is no more. So a lot of these youngsters, they have no allegiance to anything but nonsense, foolishness. You know, you listen to, it's so much negativity. We don't need to go all off into it. We already know the issues and the problems, but just based off seeing what I saw last year, it made me say it's time for us to rise up, and we have to teach these very small. A lot of these youngsters don't know some very small things about being a man.
Yes.
They just don't know. Nobody's taught them. 70% of the households are the women are head of household, doing a fabulous job and everything like that. No knock against black women, but they need a blueprint. They need a man to show them the way, and that will hopefully help them not make a lot of the mistakes that they tend to make.
Yes, yes. Are there any limits to bring justice for our people? You know, for you, like, you know, you got boots on the ground, you're out in the community all the time, and, you know, is there a limit for you to bring justice for our people?
Is there a limit as far as what I would do?
Yes.
Well, whatever I do for the people, it has to be powerful. It has to be relevant. It has to be impactful. I don't believe in just showing up to just say you know, I've done something, and we really haven't done nothing of substance. You know, so as long as it's powerful and it's relevant, and it's something that can empower the community, that's ultimately what I want to see. I want to see our communities win. I want to see our people win. I'm tired of taking L's. I want to see us win. Mm-hmm. So whatever it takes to do that in that realm, that I'm all for that.
That's what's up. So that's the end result of your accomplishments.
Mm-hmm.
For black people in general, just to win.
Yeah, and you know, I'm being very abstract when I say that, but what I want our communities to be empowered. I want us to realize that we do have power. We do have power collectively. You know, when we get together, when we fight, you know, any people in this country that have fought, they've always won. You look at laborers in the early 1900s, they had riots. Then they unionized, and they continue to have riots and things like that. You look at even the gay movement, and I believe it was 1969, they had a riot in New York City. And look at what it's trickled down to now. They've been fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting, and they winning now.
Yes.
So that's what I want to see. I want to see our people, rise up and become empowered, and quit just going along and get along, quit going with the status quo. Listen, we live in these communities. That means they are our responsibility. Anything that goes on in those communities, we should have a say-so in it.
Yes, sir. Yes, you're absolutely right. And I know that it's a lot of people, crabs in the barrel, bringing you see people that's trying to do positive things, and they can't accomplish these, so they try to tear you down. Have you had a lot of negative feedback on what you're doing in helping out people?
I'm wearing his shirt, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. He said that I'm too busy loving on black folk to hate white people, right? So I use that in another way. I'm too busy doing the work, and I focus on the people who love me and the people who freely receive me. I don't care about people who disagree or whatever. I feel like what I'm doing is just. I feel like what I'm doing is right. So why should I even pay any attention to the naysayers? People are always going to criticize you. That's human nature. Everybody is not going to like you, and they shouldn't. And that's just the way it is. So I don't focus on the negative. I'm too busy trying to impact our community. See, because you'll lose track if you sit up here and worry about what everybody's saying. You can't please everybody. Right. I'm not trying to please anyone in particular. I'm trying to empower the community. And if that rubs people the wrong way, that says more about them than it does about me.
Right. Do you think our people sometimes just not getting it? Because it's been, even before Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, even before then, we've been fighting. And after Martin Luther King, I think we kind of lost our way, and it's like it's no momentum to go forward. It's like we stuck.
Well, you have to understand something. We've been trained. We've been trained well. We've been trained. There's a system in place that's meant to keep us right where we are. So, yes, there's plenty of people who don't get it, and everybody's not going to get it. Marcus Garvey said, I'm not interested in taking everybody back to Africa. Some of them are no good here. So, again, you have to worry about those who work with those who are work-withable, if that's a word. You have to deal with your people. You have to understand our people are scarred. Our people are sick, what I call sick. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but we've been trained to hate ourselves. We've been trained to look down the barrel of our nose. We don't even trust each other. We size each other when we walk up the street. We sizing each other up. I wonder what he on or what he up to or whatever. It's our training. But here it is. The enemy, the people who have oppressed our people could walk up the street, and throughout all the wicked things that they've done to our people, we never bat an eye. Yeah. We've been trained. So, yes, some people don't get it, and I'm not the one. I don't have the patience to try to give it to them if they don't get it. Either you, because I figure, especially, this is why I deal with the youth anyway, because if you're just, say, over 30 years old and you ain't figured it out, you ain't going to figure it out. And I ain't got time to hang out here. I deal with the youngsters and regenerate their mindsets, to let them know who they are, to let them know that there is power within them, that they can speak truth to power, that they are not who the media says they are, and all these negative terms and everything. We are not who they say we are. We are royalty. Yeah. And once we understand that, then that's when the change starts. It has to be our mind has to be reconditioned.
Great words, brother. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we will get to find what is Ronnie Man plan for himself, and how do you steer the youth away from gangs, violence? What do you tell them? And who is one of his biggest inspirations in his life? We'll be right back with Everyone Has a Story.
International Maverick.
I know I've got to find some kind of peace of mind, maybe.
Teardrops in a glass of liquor, zoning out purple flowers in a grape swisher. I didn't know that nigga, I saw a story on the news. Flashing lights, reporters, a bunch of camera crews. The black man's blues, another mother's grief. I sympathize with her, that could've been me. I used to play the streets till the shorties changed the rules. They popping mollies and dropping bodies, nothing to lose. I'm on my P's and Q's, cause I ain't trying to take an L. When niggas say they out here, I'm like, bro, you tough as nails. And no, I ain't frail, I'm just trying to keep living. Listen to my inner wisdom, first mind and gut feelings. I think like a villain, keep my ear to the street. Third eye open, I'm aware of what's around me. Cause even if I found peace, I probably wouldn't recognize. Niggas not aiming now. Last night a baby died, and yeah, I cried cause I'm human and I feel pain. Black diamonds still illuminate beneath the blood stains. Yet and still I pray for rain to wash away my own sins. Chasing this root of evil like I feel the devil closing in. Smudges on my lens, I'm just trying to stay focused. This is God's footage, I just hope he keeps the cameras rolling. So for the heartbroken, keep your head to the sky. This is just a jewel or two, I hope it helps you get by. I'm a black diamond. She's a black diamond. He's a black diamond. We are black diamonds. Often wish that I could save everyone, but I'm a dreamer and niggas don't like teachers. We don't trust the preachers, so it's hard to lead the blind who have no faith in broken spirits. That's why we find reality inside of rap lyrics. And the statistics say it's jail or an early grave. She gon' drop out of school, get pregnant or catch AIDS. The world beat us up, no wonder we don't give a fuck. So we screaming YOLO, blowing foes in a double cup. So it's tough luck for have-nots who want it all and they ain't trying to work, so they robbing Peter to pay Paul. It's a free-for-all, a generation misguided. They ain't trying to hear the message unless it's promoting violence. Black diamonds under pressure trying to maintain, with the blood of kings and queens pumping through our veins. It's a dirty game and ain't no way to beat the house. Shake the dice and rolling with the hopes of never crapping out. Peep what I rap about is life through my brown eyes. For my blue collar niggas that's up before the sunrise. Heads to the sky even though it's complicated. Waiting on our day of atonement and promise reparations. We were created in the image of a higher power, so they wanna take everything that's rightfully ours. We got the power but we're using it the wrong way. The light shines in us, so our value won't appreciate. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. I'm a black diamond. She's a black diamond. He's a black diamond. We are black diamonds.
We're back on Everyone Has a Story. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, and I'm here with Ronnie Man. And I think that, speaking on earlier when you were saying about, we touched on just a little bit about the youth and you going out to talk to them, but it's a lot of men out here that are afraid to approach these young men. I'm not one of them. You know, I want to say that I love them and I'm here for them in a positive way, you know, if they reach out to me. But I want to ask you, how do you talk with these young men? How do you approach them?
Well, first of all, I ain't scared of them. I mean, you know, I don't know what kind of man you can call yourself if you, you know, I know some people, I see some people, they walk all out in the street so they can not walk through them. I walk through them and I talk to them. You know, I love them. They're my sons, they're my little brothers, you know. So, and when I talk to them, I'm telling you, I went throughout the whole city of Chicago and I told them straight up, looked them right in their face. And some of these guys had the guns on them and whatnot, right? And I told them straight up in their face, listen, I'm not telling you you can't have an enemy. This is America. Let's be real. This is a violent country we live in, right? I'm not telling you that you can't have an enemy. But what I am telling you is to handle your beef like a man. Go to that person, handle it one-on-one. What I am telling you is that you cannot shoot our women and our children. That's a problem. You know, so I speak very stern. Now, mind you, they had the guns on them sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's something about when you walk in the lion's den, right? Now, if you come in there showing fear, you're going to get ate up, you know. And it's something about, you know, even in nature, the old lions are taken out by the younger lions, right? That's just nature. But the young lions always respect the old lions as long as he remember he a lion.
Yes, yes, sir.
As soon as the young lion, the old lion forget that he a lion, the young lions tear him up, and they should, right? So I know who I am. I'm not, you know, I'm not a tough guy. I'm not the toughest in the world, but I ain't scared of nothing, you know. So I come to them in love, more so than anything, and that what come from the heart of reach another heart, you know. And if you come to them, and listen, I'm not telling them no philosophy. I'm not telling them a school of thought. I'm telling them what's real, because they know. They got sense. They got good sense.
Yes,
they got sense enough to know that they should be shooting our women and our children, you know. So that's how I come to them. I just come to them with the real.
Okay, great. Would you say, because, you know, a lot of people, I'll be on CT, I'll be out in the different communities, just such as yourself. And, you know, it's, what I hear a lot now is about these drugs. You know, the drugs is a problem. I mean, is it just drugs?
It's a lot. Listen, it's so many layers to the issues in our communities. Now, if we want to talk about drugs, let's not talk about the crack or anything like that. Let's talk about the drugs that the government is giving them. When these youngsters, a lot of them get railroaded and get cased up, go to the penitentiary. When they get ready to come out, they say, okay, listen, you got 3 years left. We're going to let you out on parole. But you got to take this medicine, right? If you don't take this medicine, now they let them out. Of course you're going to take that deal, right? You want to be free. If they don't take that medicine, they end up violating their parole and lock them back up. So they force them to take this medicine. Now, because they've already said, labeled them as they got some type of depression or some type of mental illness or issue or something like that. Yeah, something. They, whenever you go in there with them, and they're gonna come out and diagnose you with something. So a lot of these people are coming out, and the state is giving them a lot of these drugs and whatnot. And so they walking around, what we have in our communities, combine that with the loud or all these other different exotic drugs they have nowadays. We have a lot of zombies in our communities. You ever looked at the news or heard one of these stories? You say, man, what in the world? That's why it's a lot of these drugs. But now, I've never seen. Maybe you have. I've never seen a opiate field in Chicago. No. I've never seen a coca leaf field in Chicago. So, who bringing these drugs in? That's the bigger question, But see, we don't want to deal with that aspect of it, you know, because it's more easier to shun our youth and speak ill of them instead of speaking truth to the power that's bringing the drugs in here, you know.
Who is your biggest inspiration? I'm going to just switch it up just a little bit more.
Man, I would say my children. I'm a father of 5. I have 5 children, 4 boys and a beautiful little daughter. They inspire me to go when I don't want to go, in all aspects. Now, you know, I can also mention Marcus Garvey,
Yes.
Khalid Muhammad, Louis Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Martin King. Any black man that was unapologetically black and who spoke truth to power, I've always aspired to be like that. I've never been a go along to get along type. Those are the people who inspire me, people who are not afraid, you know, to Chairman Fred Hampton,
Yes,
you know, how could I forget him? You know, it's so many, you know, of our great ancestors that have inspired me to do the work that I do, but away from that, my children, they are my engine. It's many days when, because I'm doing it for them. I'm not doing, I get nothing out of this, you know, I get no gratification out of this. I'm trying to make things better for them. And I've always, even from the time my oldest was born, I've always said I never want to bring shame to them. I never want them to be ashamed to be my child, you know. So that inspired. There's a lot of pressure, by the way, but
It is.
you know, I aspire to be great just because of them. I don't want them to ever not want to own me as a father. Yeah.
I get it. And just by you saying that, we got a lot of common, brother. You know, I got 4 children myself, 3 girls, 1 boy, though, you know, and 4 grandchildren.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a beautiful thing when they can connect with you.
Absolutely.
You know, and not be strayed away and you know, who is this person in my life, you know. But it's a definitely great thing. Do you have a plan for yourself? Do you have a plan for black people?
My plan is for myself is to one day repatriate to Africa. I was able to go to Mombasa, Kenya when I served in the military, and the peace and the tranquility of the motherland is unmatched. I long for it. So ultimately, that's my golden parachute. But again, I just want to, while I'm here on this planet, I just want to inspire others to greatness, to let others know that we are better than what we're living, and we can do anything we set our minds to do. But ultimately, I want to see our people unite, you know, stop all this petty beefing and falling out. We could find any reason to fall out, as opposed, we'll agree on 90% of the things, but that 10% that we disagree on, we'll fall out about it, you know. We have to get over our pettiness and come together. And here's the thing, with this guy over there in Pennsylvania Avenue, I'm hoping that he is such a taskmaster to our people that we have no other choice other than to unite. I mean, because listen, again, we're sick in the mind. Our people are sick. And we're going to have to be forced, I believe, we're going to have to be forced to unite. And the time is coming. People are rising up. There's little small pockets throughout the city. It's a lot of people in this city doing work. So when I hear people talk about the murder rate and things like that, and they say, well, why you all are not doing it? People are.
Yes.
It's a lot of people putting a lot of hours out here in the streets, pounding these streets, trying to make things better, trying to bring about change, you know. And soon we will rise up. Soon we will.
I truly believe that as well, brother. We're going to take another short break, but when we come back, we're going to wrap things up. We'll be back in 1 minute with Everyone Has a Story.
Marcus Jones says he's headed in the right direction today. That's much different than where he was headed 2 decades ago.
It was good because you got the money for the right there. You get the money, and it, as the customers come, and the money piled up in your pockets.
That was when Jones was just 16 years old. He was already a member of a known gang. By the time he was 24, Jones attempted to rob another gang member.
As I was exiting the home, I got shot, and didn't even know I had got shot, and tried to get back up, and I couldn't.
Jones has been in a wheelchair ever since. He wrote a book titled, Everyone Has a Story, This Is Mine. He hopes that his mistakes can wake up others.
You always think that it could never happen to you until it happens.
Jones educates people in his own uptown neighborhood, but he also works with other schools and students in other communities. And that puts some parents' minds at ease.
I look at Marcus and I think, and I thank God, my son could have been in that wheelchair.
He also encourages everyone to stay away from the drugs he once sold.
He said, Steve, when they say they want to give you a free high, they don't tell you about the low-down consequences of accepting that free high.
Jones's book was published in January. In just 2 short decades, he went from selling drugs to selling books and selling hope.
We're back with Everyone Has a Story. My guest, Ronnie Mann, we've got to know quite a bit about in his organization, Rise Up Chicago. Let's talk about your organization, Rise Up Chicago.
Rise Up Chicago, unapologetically pro-black, action-based community organization. It was birthed this last December, and I took the time to say, well, you know, it's enough adults, it's a lot of adults doing things, it's time to rise up the youth. So with this, or within this organization, I've started a mentoring program, and the purpose of the mentoring program is to empower the youth. It's a mentoring program like none other, right in the Austin community. I teach them about culture. I teach them about economics. I teach them about business, entrepreneurship, starting their own businesses. Even this summer, we will have each and every one of the mentees will have their own business of some sort. You know, so it's time to start putting our money behind them, or putting our talent, meshing our talent with theirs, and pushing these youngsters out in the forefront. I could just sit in the background in the cut and be cool with that. I want to see the youth do better than what they're doing. So I'm teaching them what I can about manhood with gardening. We're working in community gardens and things like that. I take them on trips. You know, we go fishing, we go camping, we go, oh, you want to shoot guns? Let's go hunting. You know, the things that that boys should be doing with their fathers, you know. But I'm teaching them the principles of manhood, you know, more so than anything. We have got to do better in that regard, because it's a lot of soft men in our communities. And we can't continue to have that. They have got to be the protectors. They've got to be the providers of their communities, you know. So that's what I'm doing with Rise Up Chicago.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So how can people get involved?
People get involved. They could bring their sons. If you're out in the Austin community, you know, they can reach me at 773-599-1492. or they could go to my Facebook page, Rise Up Chicago, or the Instagram is at Rise Up Chi-Town. And those are ways to get in touch with me, get connected. Listen, I do a lot of different things in the community. You know, anything that can empower the communities. I hold foreign-owned businesses accountable in the community. If they are, selling old food, disrespecting our elders, our women, our children, just being active in the community. Like I said, these are our communities, they're our responsibilities, and we ought to have our nose in everything that's going on.
Yes, sir. Do you have any projects coming up?
Right now, just we're going throughout the communities, cleaning up, things like that. We're doing that every weekend. A lot of different things coming up with the youth, with the mentoring piece. We're going to have them doing some coding. All this summer, they're going to be doing coding, web design, things like that. And that's a way for them to start their own businesses. So those are the types of things that we'll be doing throughout the community. And we're still speaking truth to power whenever we can.
Great, brother. You're doing an absolutely great job, and I commend you on all your work, man.
Peace and love, brother.
You're just doing a great job, brother. We need many more men such as yourself and me, to get out here and
absolutely
this pavement.
Well, I'm just a black man that cares. I'm an ordinary Joe. I don't like all these titles and all that stuff like that. I'm just somebody who care and who is actually putting some action behind his words. That's all.
Yes, sir. So, I encourage everybody to write a book. So I'll be waiting for your book in the near future because I know you're going to. It's one coming, right?
It's a couple coming, brother.
Okay.
It's a couple coming.
That's what I want to hear. Well, it's time. We have come to the end of the show, but I had a great time today. I want to thank my guest for all the work he is doing in helping people rise up with his mentoring program. Until next time, on Everyone Has a Story, I'm your host, Marcus Jones. Don't forget to visit cantv.org to find out when the next show is scheduled of Everyone Has a Story. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Peace.
All right, man. Rush for death, is this the auto war for cops? We double dutching, ducking shots. Every home ain't got a pops. Every man ain't selling rocks. A different will to win here. Different from switching cars. They pray that we switch our bars to a vein from a metaphor. World star and world stars. Lot of love in this life hard. Keep us praying like, oh God. Illegally thievery, think of stealing off easily. Frustrated, we hate it. Yeah. That's why we scream out, nigga, we made it. That's our future, they ain't know we was awesome creators. Something from nothing was told, kings welcome men, you frontin' for the people and by the people, but them over money. I'm on my Viola Davis, yeah, working for justice. How you get away with murder? Be a